I'm Hollywood Hurd.
I'm Jim Young.
And this is the Smoked Debrief. Today we're going back to our favorite cigar right now, which is Hooten and Young. Hooten Young cigars are owned by Hooten, who was the guy from Black Hawk Down. He was the Delta guy. And Jim and I have kind of fallen in love with their cigars. We've been smoking a lot of them, and they're all pretty damn good. So we're smoking the Valentine's America with Love cigar today. Described as a Valentine bombshell made to seduce the senses and salute the bold. A jaw-dropping dark San Andreas wrapper. Hugs aged Nicaraguan binder and filler from elite farmers. Blended for deep sweetness and commanding balance. Inspired by rich chocolate and classic pinup nose art. It's got the label is actually a nose art. The band is actually a nose art from a bomber from World War II. It's pure romance with a rebellious edge.
You know what I noticed?
Say again?
The nose art. She's riding a bomb. She's not riding a cigar.
I know that.
Like ours.
And Jim has turned the back wall into a bomb, but it's a cigar instead of a bomb. So, box press 60 ring gauge bombshell with waves of cocoa, espresso, dark sweetness, and warm spice. Built to drop hearts. Love at first light. So we've smoked another one of these earlier, like I think Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And we loved it. So
yes, good stuff.
And today we have a special guest, Jim. Who's joining us today?
We got Alex Bullis. Alex, just a citizen of Graham, and he comes to the council meetings, and most of the time you sign up to speak, and I just think it's cool. I mean, sometimes I don't agree with stuff you said, but that doesn't matter. I just think it's cool that a young person is comfortable coming to a government meeting like that and speaking up. And I think everybody should be able to do that. And especially young kids, because there's not enough of them coming out and getting involved, and they should.
So it's Alex, right?
Yeah, Alex Bullis.
Tell us about yourself, buddy.
Yeah.
Where you're from, how you got involved, where you're going to school, all that.
Yeah, I'm from, born and raised in Graham. Parents are from Graham. Grandparents are from Graham. Great-grandparents are from Graham. So I love Graham. I went to River Mill Academy in Graham up until the 9th grade. Then I transferred over to the Burlington School. My brother went there.
Great school.
He was big into. He had a great voice and has a great voice still. And he's in a band now at NC State. He's got a great voice, but he went there for that aspect. I just kind of tagged along, but got into. I always loved to read from a young age. And so I really got into political history, history in general. So I did a lot of reading of.
That's rare.
Whether it be the Civil War, that's really was the big facet. Is mostly stuff 1800s plus.
Yeah.
So ended up going to undergrad at UNC Charlotte, majored in political science, minored in American history, minored in legal studies. Graduated from there, took the LSAT, went to law school. I'm in my last semester of law school.
Well, good for you, man. That's awesome.
That's crazy.
I'm on the home stretch, ready to be done.
I bet, right?
School, I feel I'm sort of exhausted with school. So
you lean conservative, most conservative.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing is I have always been conservative, and now what I hate is this blurred imagery of if you don't support every single thing that the Republican Party does, you're not a Republican.
Right. We just got through saying that because that's exactly who I am.
Yeah.
You can't, if you're intelligent, you can't support everything that one party says. Are you good? You got fire there? Okay. It doesn't make it doesn't make intelligent sense to believe everything your party says.
Yeah,
I agree. that's sort of, I guess the crossroads that I've come to now is that I've always been conservative. And I said, Trump is sort of was that thing where I was 16 years old and getting into politics, and that was where Trump sort of emerged as a front runner for the Republican Party. And so I think that was sort of a defining moment for me of why I got into politics, because I saw,
A difference.
a different person who's running now, and he's going to have some different ideas that, I agree with the majority of them. I don't agree with some, but I agree with the majority of them. And so I think that was sort of this jump into politics as well.
Yeah.
What
Imagine
got you involved with the local city politics? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I took, I always was under the impression that city politics,
We're nothing really,
nothing.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
it's nothing.
Yeah.
And
That's what Jim thought when he ran for city council.
that was the impression that I was under, was that, you can't really do anything. It doesn't really change anything. And then in undergrad, I ended up taking a local and state politics class with a professor who was on the city council in Charlotte. And he really showed me how, actually this stuff actually impacts your life much more than anything that goes on in Washington, D.C.
It's true.
And so that sort of, I was like, okay, let's kind of look into this county and city stuff and just kind of, not get involved in a full sense, because it's intimidating. I mean, even if you're a grown adult, it's intimidating.
Everybody, as soon as you fill out that paperwork and you pay that $10 to run, every little bit of information about you becomes public record.
Exactly.
People got your phone number, they got your home address, everything. And it's like, for a little bit there, I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to get all these crazy crank phone calls and stuff. People going to buy egg in the house or something.
And then everything that you say goes under a microscope.
Yeah. I mean, and it's intimidating all across the board. It's intimidating, because it's important to represent the people. And, I think that's really where this crossroad of history and politics is for me, because I'm a conservative who believes that the ideas that the founding fathers had when they started this country are the same ideas of what we should carry on into today. That the government works for the people. The government doesn't work for the government or select groups of people. It works
Or
for the
themselves.
people. Exactly. I mean, how many people go to DC, and they leave millionaires,
Yeah.
that's, and it happens in local politics. It happens in, federal politics. But I think that's another reason why I got into politics.
Are you gonna run?
Alex comes to the Graham City Council meetings.
Yeah.
Speaks, talks about what he wants to share. How did that step first take place? Because that must have been that took a lot of courage for the first time you stood up. How did that come about?
Yeah, I think for one thing, I've been so busy with school that finally I've been able to calm down and sort of participate in things locally. And then going to law school, of course, you're just put on the hot seat and you have to learn how to speak on the fly and speak in front of a lot of people and stick with the opinion that you have, even if it's
Under fire.
Under fire or not a winning, argument. And so, I had always, I'll say a side note is that I grew up playing baseball with Carson Talley. And Chuck Talley was my coach, and we had a great time. Me and Carson hung out a lot when we were younger, and playing baseball. And so I knew, okay, that's what a mayor, and okay, that's what this looks like. Just getting acclimated to politics. And so then the issue that I find is that our one source of news is the Alamance News. And I love to read the news. And so I started reading the news, and you see, headlines and stuff, and things that maybe you don't necessarily agree with, or maybe things that you do agree with. And the park in Graham,
Hot
obviously,
topic.
hot topic. I mean, I've lived in Graham my whole life, and the park, you drive by it and you see it. And I worked in the courthouse for, a couple of years when I was an undergrad, and I saw the park every day. And, so, that just sparked an interest of, okay, what are they talking about? Why is this park a hot topic?
Yeah.
And so that was sort of, okay, let me go to this meeting and see what they're talking about. And, if I feel inclined to speak, I put my name down. I said, if I feel inclined
Everybody
to
that comes
speak,
in there, whether they want to speak or not, should put their name on that paper.
yeah, I said, you know what, let me, just in case, if they call my name and I have nothing to say, then I'll just pass.
Yeah.
And if there's something I feel like I want to say, I'll say it. And so I think just maybe it took a hot button topic to get me in there.
I think the first time I saw you come up was last year. August or September, they had they were talking about the park, and I think that's the first time I saw you come up. I wasn't on the council.
Yeah. I think
that
that sounds about right. That sounds about right. Sometime in that time period. And my whole thing was, like I said, I didn't necessarily go in there with the full on intention of speaking. But at that point, I just wanted the council to hear my opinion, which was just, let's just be more transparent with the people of Graham. I didn't say, my whole point wasn't leave the park where it's at. Don't move the park. Y'all are wrong. Y'all don't know what you're doing. It's just, we just want a little bit more information. I want a little bit more information.
I think there was the issue with the minutes.
And that's what I raised.
And the minutes are on there, but they are kind of hard. If you're not even halfway computer savvy, they're hard to find.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, I know exactly where they're at, and you still, because they weren't consistent with how the method that they kept them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, here's the old way they did it, and now you got the new way and everything. So and you raised a good point on that.
Yeah, I think in that, it started with that, and then it went to, I think that's the biggest thing, is that government should always be
Transparent.
fully transparent, fully for the public to understand what's going on inside and out.
Yeah.
And, it felt, especially with the minutes thing, like you said, that felt a little,
Shady.
We're a little bit in the dark here,
Yeah.
a little bit. And then I think it sort of emerged from, okay, we're not being super transparent, to now we're sort of just kind of brushing off the ideas of what people think. Because, we're being pressured a little bit. So now we're going to fight back and sort of suppress whatever, people are pushing back again. So now we're going into defense mode, is how the public, I think, kind of took that notion.
Well, Jim discovered, they asked him before he was elected, are you for keeping the park where it's at? And Jim said yes. And then Jim got on the council, and there was a presentation and a vote, and Jim got a lot more information. And so Jim changed his opinion to, okay, well, let's move the park. And then Jim really dug into it, like you were talking about digging into it.
It took someone calling me and telling me, that they voted this way a year ago and nothing ever happened. I was like, really? And so when I brought that up at the February meeting, okay, I'm a flip-flopper.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're a flip-flopper because you got more information.
And it was just, it's so frustrating because even the person on the council who had the plan, he was misled too. And come to find out, it was, like the parking thing, where the Alamance was going to let them have the parking, whatever additional parking space that they had. The county manager had told Councilman Hall, yes, you can use this. Well, when the Alamance News contacted him, he had a totally different story. And come to find out, that's not the first time that the county manager has done that. He likes, playing both sides. So that to me was a red flag. And then now since I've changed my position, and I believe that the public that we should be allowed. I think they're going way too fast, and I regret seconding the motion to move the park. I regret it, and I've sent emails to the other council members telling them, hey, let's give the people an opportunity
to raise the money.
fundraise and sell bricks if they want. And there's no sense in speeding this along.
Yeah.
And I never get a reply. Anybody can make a public records request, and I'm happy for them to see the emails I send.
And I because of my relationship with Jim and the show, I've been watching the live feeds of the council meetings.
Yeah.
And you brought up a point that they didn't even consider the historical aspects of the park as to whether or not they could move it, correct?
Yeah, I think, and I think that, I've read the statute. I've read, I think that you could easily make an argument that it's not a memorial. You could just as easily make an argument that it is a memorial.
Yeah.
I think they use this subsection C of the statute to say that they can't move it, or they can move it because
Safety.
it's been deemed safe.
Yeah.
But my objection to that, my legal objection to that would be, okay, the park itself has been deemed unsafe, but the physical memorials have not been deemed unsafe. So
No.
I think you could argue that, yeah, the land is unsafe, but is the land the memorial, or is or the benches and the plaques, are those the memorials? And that leads me to my next point is they removed the clock.
Yeah.
The bell tower.
The bell.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, because
During the protests,
Yeah,
which
somebody
were
was messing with it or something.
4 or 5 years ago, 2019 was it?
Yeah, 2019.
So 6-7-ish years. And if they're going to rely on that statute to justify, okay, it's not a memorial, and even if it was, we can still move it. Well, that same statute says that if you remove something, you have to put it back.
Yeah.
And it's set in 90 days.
Yeah, I wonder the 90 days things comes after it's been made safe. But to your point, since the protesting was over, then
it didn't make a lot of sense. Why?
Back. But I wonder if, because the bell is still privately owned, I wonder if that might have had something to do with it.
Yeah, that sort of gets, that's the other aspect, is a lot of the privately owned stuff just gets fishy and finicky on who really owns it and who really has a say in what happens to it. But yeah, it's, some of the people who are on the council now were on the council when this issue supposedly has been kicked down the road.
Yeah.
But they were on that council. They could have also done something. I know
I'm like, when I watched it was the May meeting of last year
where they made a decision.
They made a motion to dismantle the pergola, take the bricks up, put them in safe storage, and make the area safe. It was passed. Yeah. It was 4-1.
And then nothing happened, right?
Nothing happened. So that's what I brought up in Tuesday's meeting. We already have this, and regardless of whether the park gets moved or not, it's still got to come down to make the area safe.
Yeah.
So let's take this step. We're at least moving forward. We're making progress on something, and of course now it's still.
Yeah.
And it's extremely frustrating. Well, especially that night, because, the mayor, I made my motion that we reaffirm that motion, and she wanted to add more to it. And it's like, no, let's do this, and then you can make a motion, after that.
Yeah.
And it just, it took forever. We finally, and I kept having to remind him, I have a motion on the table.
Yeah.
And it passed 4-1 with the mayor voting against it.
Yeah.
What I don't understand, but I'm sure she has her reasons, but still.
What is your observation as a person who's involved, who cares? What's your observation of how the council's working?
I think that the last couple meetings.
And again,
I've been
if I
to-
ask you something that makes you feel uncomfortable,
Oh no,
this is not about in any. I want to be clear
about that because the people have a right to say what they feel about people who represent them, because a city council member, county commissioner, or mayor, or all the way up to the president, those are people who are simply on loan by the taxpayer.
Yeah.
To represent said taxpayer. The Graham City Council doesn't represent Burlington citizens or Mebane citizens. They represent Graham citizens. And same goes for every other city or municipality or state.
Yeah.
And something that I think about, or like I mentioned, the founding fathers, and Thomas Jefferson wrote in one of the Federalist Papers that a government who lives in fear of its people is liberty, but people who live in fear of their government is tyranny.
Yeah.
And so when I've gone to the last 3 meetings,
right.
I see, a few council members who just would rather be anywhere else. And if that's the case, then, resign and let somebody who wants to be there be there. You can't pick and choose what comes onto the agenda.
You have to be committed to whatever the subtopic is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be committed to everything from the most boring contractual agreement to the most hyper-fixated contract agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything in between. You can't pick and choose and get annoyed, and then because you're annoyed, let's, speed run this and bait and switch and, all these different tactics that it seems like are being employed.
Yeah. We were, the last thing we discussed was the changing the way to the meeting, the process of the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that has never been done, and I don't understand why. Why didn't the council do this years ago? Why didn't they have a procedure and guidelines set up for the meetings? They never did.
Well, you told me
It was always everybody's always going by Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah.
You told me that in the old days they voted and then they let the people speak. Is that right?
Yeah. Well,
that
it's
makes no
still
sense.
that way now until this new procedure for the meetings is voted on and approved.
That makes no sense to me to
doesn't.
making a decision and then the people speak.
Yeah,
the people should speak so you know what they're thinking and how they feel, and then you should vote.
Yeah, they were talking about like when we were discussing it, and a couple of the other council members were saying, "Well, yeah, they can speak as long as they don't talk about the agenda items." Well, and I told them, I said, when these people come up, and I looked at the city attorney, I said, they can talk about whatever they want. There's absolutely nothing we can do to keep them from discussing something that might be on the agenda. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's true. And I said, well, so why do we even worry about that? Yeah. And I think part of there's some, there's supposedly some liberal playbook out there, and this is what I was told. And the liberals want to come in and speak first about something because they hope that they can change the council's mind before they vote. I don't really see that as a kind of liberal playbook. I see that as a person coming to the council and speaking up.
Yeah.
Because you hope to be able to reach them and want to change
What's
their mind.
the point of having people speak?
Yeah, it's silly. So they did the we wanted to have the people speak first,
Yeah.
And I'm all for that because I look at it as like, these people are just getting off work. They don't want to come to this meeting and then sit through the whole thing. And when I spoke at the county commissioners meeting about funding the park, I was so happy that I got to speak first, and then I skied out because I don't want to sit there all night.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it stuff that I'm not interested in.
Yeah. I think that's just the inevitable. Is
Yeah.
that most people don't want to listen to.
Yeah. And one thing, I think now we said like we have a 30-minute time limit for the public speaking, and it was 2 minutes per speaker. And when we did that, see, I thought that's what the county commissioners had. I thought 2 minutes was their thing, but it ended up it's 3. But also I looked at it as a way, okay, if we make it 2 minutes, then we're going to hear from more people than if each person had 3 minutes. But regardless of time limits or anything, the council, if it's a hot topic or something, the council can make a motion that we extend the public speaking time. We're looking at probably 99% of the council meetings, nobody's there. So you open it up, and that's my thinking when we were making those rules. But I didn't realize that the county commissioner.
You need a better lighter? Is that lighter dead?
It's pretty.
You need a better one?
Yeah, I might need one. That one's.
We'll give you the
a little bit
flamethrower.
weak.
Yeah.
Don't burn your face.
Yeah.
Pull down on the.
Comes out the top here.
Flip
Yeah.
it. Flip it open.
Flip the top.
There you go. And that side button.
Yeah, there we go. That may.
So I'm almost 60.
You're not lit yet.
But I'm still learning
There you go.
this council stuff, and I still am open to have my mind changed because
Well, that's how you have to be
Who was
to
it?
really to be able to. You can't come in with an opinion that this is how it's going to be, and no matter what I hear,
stick to it.
I'm going to stick to it.
Was it Robert E. Lee that said the education of a man never ends until he's dead.
Right. So have you found positive reinforcement from speaking at these meetings, or do you feel like you're wasting your? I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, I think that's the issue that that I think me and a lot of people are running into is that what's really the point? If it's going to get steamrolled, regardless, why even go up there? Why rush home from work to get up there and say anything?
Yeah,
It's
Because
frustrating
when
for me.
I watched the video the night that they voted, and 20 people, 10, 15 people spoke in support of keeping the park there.
more than that. The last meeting there was like 60 or 70 people, but I'm one vote, and it's just as frustrating for me being up there, knowing what all these people just came and spoke out about, and I'm trying to,
yeah.
but at the same time, you have to look at it as Graham has a population of about 20,000 people, and you get 90, 100, even 200 people. That's not the entire population.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, there's a lot of people who don't want to come to these meetings. They don't want to come and see the sausage being made.
Yeah.
They voted, and with their vote, they entrusted the person that they voted for to handle it. And so it's kind of like, God, when all these people show up to speak, but you still know you've got thousands more who you have no idea.
Yeah.
And I know when I ran, one of my ideas was to have a referendum on the park. Well, come to find out, you can't do that unless you want to. That the state won't allow it. for something like that, unless we were attached, like changing the drinking age or something like that to it.
Yeah.
So let's change the drinking age to 18, and we're going to have a referendum on the park.
I'm fine.
There'll be a lot of 18-year-olds coming and voting for it.
Exactly. There'll be a lot more young engagement.
Yeah.
I think, I think the one thing also, and the thing that I think when I went to the very first meeting, the thing that caught me off guard, this was still, Jennifer Talley was still mayor. There was nobody, it was just Bonnie, Bobby, Ricky, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Joey Parsons had moved.
Yeah.
And so there was a vacant spot. And so that was the first meeting I went to about the park. And, I'm sitting there, and then they call up this guy and say, hey, is Russell Compton here? And he comes up with this elaborate plan.
Yeah.
This is the first true public hearing on the topic. And he comes up with this elaborate plan of what they're going to do with that area. He doesn't get a time period. I think he spoke for 8 minutes or 9 minutes. He didn't get a time.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I saw that was sort of my first point like where I was like, hold on, what's going on here?
Is this the guy that wants to buy the land?
No. Russell, I think, worked for the Historical Museum.
Yeah, he does.
And he just, as a local citizen, he had this plan drawn up. And I think that's Ricky took that idea and expanded on it when he made his proposal
To move it.
Yeah. And so that was my first point of like, who do the rules apply to? Is it all public speakers? Is it some public speakers? And then I wouldn't have a problem if after the fact, 4 years ago, after some random meeting, the council said, okay, a lot of people may come up and speak. Let's maybe consider, condensing the speaking time. But for it to be as timely as it was, that was another issue in and of itself of like, okay, you have a lot of people speak out, and now you want to shorten the time for people to speak.
Yeah.
And I understand, we need to have a smooth moving meeting. Nobody wants to be there. Procedures are important, I think, absolutely. Yeah. Procedures, I totally agree with that. And I also agree with having a smooth, functioning meeting. Nobody wants to listen to, people talk until 11 o'clock at night and then get your night started as the council.
Yeah.
That's not, you don't want that to happen, but you also don't want to suppress the citizens.
No, not at all.
Come out and speak. So it's a thin line to walk. But, and then I got up there to speak and spoke, and then we have the other meeting and more people come. And, I think it was Bonnie said, and Bobby said, I've spoken with lots of people who want to move the park. Well,
that's not how it works.
Dude, I'll tell you, before Tuesday's meeting, February's meeting, I had people talking to me, and they would say, I don't care about the park. I don't care if y'all move it. I don't care. And I said, would you mind coming and speaking?
Yeah.
Because we need that side. And every one of them said, oh, hell no, I'm not going to get my name in LMS News.
Yeah.
Because, Tom Boney would do that. He would just incinerate people on his opinion page.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is, I think this goes back to me just being a traditionalist in a sense of founding fathers and Constitution and abiding by those things is, the Alamance News or, any news outlet out there, we might not agree with what they publish, but we have to just let them publish that. We have to allow that type of freedom of speech and that type of freedom of the press to say whatever. So I would tell those people, come out and speak. And if somebody writes something about you, own it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. If somebody wrote an editorial about a crazy 25-year-old law student,
I'll give them no ideas.
I'd probably, frame it and put it in my office because, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
That's right.
So wear what you believe on your back and get up there and speak about it.
Yeah. And it does. I mean, it says a lot about the people who wouldn't, it's funny because the very same guy, we were over at Forgotten Roads having a beer, and the guy just came up out of the blue and started talking to me. And he was like, "Oh hell no, I got a business in Graham. I'm a square miler. My daddy was a square miler and all that stuff." And I was like, "Okay, well come and talk."
Yeah.
Oh hell no, I got a business. So it's like, okay.
But then you can't bitch when it doesn't go the way you want. I mean, that's just how it is. If you're not willing to go and speak for what you believe in, it's like you said, then you can't. You're gonna what's that old adage? They came for the Jews and I said nothing. They came for the Christians, I said nothing, and then they came for me. Well, you've got to be able to stand up for what you believe in, and you've got to be willing to say it out loud, because if you don't, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. And I see the Facebook comments, and the old infantry grunt wants to comment with my Army sense of humor and stuff, and I don't.
Thank God. Thank God.
Because I know it's just, it'll be taken the wrong way and stuff. But there's a couple of people that comment who were actually in position to do something about it and had opportunities. If you look back to 2017, there was one particular vote where they had $50,000 to spend, and one of the items they wanted to spend it on was repairing the park where the planters were sinking. They wanted to repair that. Instead, this was like Griffin McClure was on there, Jerry Peterman was the mayor, and instead they decided they wanted to give low interest loans to small businesses. So that's what they voted that 50 grand to go to. Well, then they figured out that was a little too difficult for them to do. So what did they do? They spent that $50,000 on crosswalk signs.
Yeah.
And these are the same people that are coming on commenting about the current council, what they're doing, all this stuff. Okay, well, if it was such an important thing to you, why wasn't it important to you then? Why didn't you speak up then? Because it was a unanimous vote. And that's what's frustrating. Because it's, I ran for mayor in 2017. I had absolutely nothing against Jerry Peterman. I just happened to be in the Board of Elections office, and I knew he had run opposed for so long. And I was
unopposed?
Unopposed, yeah, for so long. And I just decided to do it.
Yeah.
And that was, I got immediately turned off and regretted it, because there were people calling me and contacting me and wanting to give me dirt on Jerry Peterman and stuff that he had done. And it's like, I don't want to hear that. I'm not that person.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. And, I will say the only reason I ran for council, not the only reason, I was asked when Joey was moving away, Jennifer and Chuck asked me if I would run, or if I would put an application to fill that seat. And I said, sure. And I had Chuck in here. Chuck actually came here and he told me, he said, "We don't want a yes man." I said, "Well, that's good, because I'm not going to be a yes man." And then I was on the planning and zoning board, and some of these developers came in and they wanted to do this one development in this 60-year-old neighborhood that with a single lane street, and all of these people came that lived there, that have lived there since the houses were built, and didn't want it. So I'm like, well, I know I'm with these people right here, and so then I saw the same developer going to the council when they were supposed to come back to the planning and zoning and show us their changes. They didn't. They just went straight to the council.
Yep.
Well, the council voted it down, good for, which was a good thing. But I thought, what if the council didn't vote it down?
Yep.
And so we need somebody, and that was one of the other reasons.
Yeah.
But I still look forward to going to the meetings, and I enjoy it. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. It is frustrating though. It's to be up there and you want to. I mean, you just want to just.
Yeah.
Are you disappointed? Are you disingenuous because you feel like no one's paying attention now, or
Yeah, I mean, it's
because I think it's great that you're there,
Yeah.
and you're not afraid to stand up and say what you think, and the fact that you brought up that it might be historical, it might be, or however that's approached, they should have thought of that way before. It shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been up to you to go up there. So, do you feel like you're wasting your time, or
I will not stop
good? That's
talking
great.
and being, and it's not just the park. It's Graham in general. It's not just the park. This just happens to be the hot button topic that
Right.
everybody wants to talk about.
Well,
Right.
I know, there's a lot of feeling out there that there's like some kind of backroom dealing, and I will admit, there's been times where I'm thinking that myself, like, okay, why are they pushing this so hard?
Yeah.
And I just, I'm just staying out of it,
Yeah.
and I'll do what I think is best, and try my best to represent the people of Graham. But it is frustrating because because how do you bring that up?
Yeah, and that's my, I think about the James, is it James Franco?
Yes.
That's kind of the actor. Why did he pick Graham? Because it is a awesome small town full of historical, charm, and it's quaint.
Yeah.
But if we just go and make it a commercialized area, I'm all for bringing in tax revenue for the city. I'm all for that. But we shouldn't do that at the mercy of the one singular corner in Court Square that is not a business.
Yeah, that corner is not gonna make or break.
That's
whether we can do something.
We're not going to put some, Intel or Amazon's not going to come put a shipping warehouse on a little,
No, I think if the land, and I don't even know how that goes on. I'm still learning about that as far as, I guess it's dubbed surplus, and
and that means that it'll be sold less.
Well, it will be. I would be
the fact
surprised.
that it's labeled surplus. That means you can buy it for cheaper.
Well, because there's known issues, it would surprise me if a developer gave $60,000 for that.
Really?
For that spot, because of the issues, because they know there's ground contamination, and it would fall on the developer to do that. So no developer in his right mind would come in there and pay hundreds of thousands or $1 million for that spot because
they don't know what the
conditions.
cost is going to be.
Yeah, nobody knows.
To make the
They were talking about pumping the that polyurethane filler in there
because there's oil tanks under there. Is that right?
And what was a three-story building?
Three. Yeah, I think it was 3-story
And
building.
so it was probably a 300 or 400 gallon tank in the basement
of fuel oil.
So they just don't know if the tank was removed. It was more than likely they just filled it in.
Oh, really?
Buried it. Yeah. So if the one quote for the polyurethane leveling stuff was like $200,000. That was 2023, 2024, something like that. Now it's $400,000. But they still don't know if they're going to hit every void, and it's only good for like 20 years. Even after 20 years, that polyurethane will give way.
Yeah,
it's just the only way they're going to know is they just completely dig all of it out. And right now, the contaminants can be handled by our landfill. It wouldn't have to be federal unless they get in there, and of course they're going to have to test. And they find out that it's something more serious than heavy metals. And who knows? It's that great unknown.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's just unknown. We don't even know if the fuel tank is down there. I mean, it more than likely is, but there's not a hard evidence that.
How did they not know that?
Because I think when the building came down in '78,
I
they
think it
were
was,
they were remodeling it or something, and they pulled the structural beam out, and that made the building
It collapsed.
Actually, yeah.
And
Did they do that on purpose?
well, that's '78. Who knows?
Okay.
So,
So they pulled the structural beam out. The building collapsed into the hole, into the
it just
basement.
fell down on itself. I don't know if they collapsed it, if maybe they purposely pulled it down after that, or what. But it was a gravel parking lot from '78 till
I think they sold it in
1999.
1999. Yeah, they sold it.
So it's just, and then that wall, Jason Cox's building right there,
Yeah.
where the physical therapist is at, that wall is not, doesn't have a footing. It was
Yeah.
built on top of the ground, so it might come
That's-
down.
That's sort of my next thing is, okay, if we go to move it, well, even when we move it, is something going to happen?
Yeah.
That's, to me, I just want more evidence of, okay, what are we really going to get into here? And is that park that's proposed, behind the, Roasted Depot and Maple Street Tavern there,
Yeah.
is it really only going to cost $600,000 to $800,000?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it looks like $1 million rendering.
Yeah,
But
I would agree. And I guess I haven't looked at the stuff. They put something in the agenda. I haven't got that far in the agenda yet. I usually Sunday I'll take the time and I'll go through everything. But I would agree. It's especially in today's money.
yeah,
It's gonna be
just,
expensive.
I just.
And then repairing it, it's going to be
Yeah.
probably the same or more.
The first meeting I went to, it was all about the money. It was all about, we need to save as much money. It's all about, and now it's, well, we can lose a little bit of money, a
Yeah.
couple $100,000. It's not a big deal. So
When prior to Tuesday's meeting, I asked the city manager if she would contact Public Works and see if they would ask them to contact the people who bid on it, on the repair, if they would honor those bids. Because if they had, then grant money could have been used because we wouldn't have to get any more bids.
yeah,
And so I get in there Tuesday and the city manager says no. They said no, they would not. So, and
that
I'm
makes
not
sense.
surprised,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I wouldn't.
you got to ask.
Yeah.
Well, they're usually only good for 30 or 60 or 90 days, contracts like that,
But I took a shot, so, and then,
But how can the land be there and be contaminated? Is it because there's nothing there?
well, it was because the oil tanks probably.
No, my point is, don't you have to clean that up?
Yeah, we would if
But no, I mean, isn't there a federal requirement because it's contaminated that you have to clean it up?
I think it's what the contamination is. Like right now, it's heavy metals, and that's something that local landfill can handle. The city can handle that. If it was something worse, and I'm not sure what those chemicals are or what kind of contaminants it would be.
So there's no federal mandate
Right.
that they have to clean it up.
If it
can
was
stay
worse than that,
as long as it's nothing there,
contained.
it's okay.
That's my understanding. But the second they start working on it, it's got to be handled.
Yeah.
So
Because now they've exposed it.
yeah, but it just, oh man,
Yeah, it's and I think that the people who came out to speak who own businesses, I think they have every right to be concerned about the parking they're going to lose. You have to hear out everybody's position. I didn't appreciate Ricky Hall's comment about let's just get these people out of the way.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those comments where you don't have to be here. Like if you truly do not want to be here and listen to people who some of these people voted for you probably.
yeah,
Most of them probably did. If you don't want to listen to what they have to say, why are you here?
why be there?
That's a comment that's completely unnecessary.
And why would you say that?
Yeah.
If you really give a shit, why would you say that?
Yeah, and that just feeds into what you're saying is it seems like there's something else going on. Whether there is or not, that when you say things like that, it puts off the
It's the appearance.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, have you read the Alamance News this week?
Maybe. I don't know. What was the headline? What was the front page?
I don't know. I only read that one little spot.
If it was the one where I think I did because it was the cartel guy who was on trial. Was found not guilty this week. I think it might have been.
Yeah, it might have been that issue.
Might have been, yeah.
The last meeting, there was a budget item for $1,500. Well, I didn't know what it was. Nobody on the council knew what it was. And so Bobby Chin asked for that amount to be taken out.
Mm-hmm.
And so they tabled that line item. And then when it came back up and we were voting on it, the mayor asked Bobby, will you elaborate why you want that taken out? And he asked the city manager, will you explain what all these amounts are for? And the city manager went on through, and it was $1,500 that the mayor wanted to go to some kind of seminar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First that I'd heard of it.
Yeah.
And I quite honestly felt like, well, why would you just tell them to put that in the budget? Why wouldn't you just say, hey, council, I'd like to go on this trip. I'm going to put this amount in there, and I would appreciate it if you guys would vote on it. That didn't happen. And this is a person who her whole time, transparency, that's not very transparent. And so last week, someone gave her the money anonymously. It's not anonymous anymore. It was Jane Albright.
Mm-hmm.
While that's not illegal, it's not unethical.
Yeah.
It's the appearance. And she should have immediately said, no, I can't accept that. If somebody wants to give money, come over, hey, I want to put some money towards the park or something like that, fine. But something like that, I just don't agree with it. And while it's not illegal or anything, it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look good.
Yeah, I can understand that. I do know what you were speaking about now. And, and my whole thing is that you could have your opinions and sort of disagree with other council members, disagree with the mayor, but do it in a professional sense. I think you always have been professional.
Well, that's a miracle because he's a hillbilly from Tennessee.
The biggest thing with me is I'm afraid that I will come across like I'm bullying her, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. That's not my intention. But when the last meeting, when she kept talking about she wanted to take a vote on the grant money going towards the park, and it's like, Chelsea, why are you doing that? Because we have to get those bids in the time frame.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't tell it. She wasn't telling anybody that. And tell everybody everything. Tell them the whole story, not just this one little part.
Yeah.
And it's almost like she's just doing that to make herself look good. But she knows that there's nothing going to come of it.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating.
Well, what happened to the money? What happened to the $600,000 or however much it was?
It's still there. The grant money's still
there.
But
it's going to run out if you don't use it, right?
Runs out in June.
Why can't they use that for the park?
Because the bids have expired. And we have to get
and you can't get the bids.
And because I think it's the law, it has to take a certain amount of time that you have to do all that.
For the bids, because you have to put it out there for everybody to bid on.
And by the time they came through, the grant will have expired. That's what I was telling the mayor. You tell the people that as well. We can vote on this, but please tell them the truth about that's not going to go anywhere because there's not time. Now, if even if the if I was one of the developers, I would say, okay, I'll honor my bid. And then you have an overage. You just tell them we got an overage.
Yeah.
Right.
And that would be totally understandable because we could vote on that as a council.
Yeah.
And the park would be, well, I'm frustrated that it hasn't, even though they reaffirmed that motion, nothing's been done. And now
It's weird to me as an outside observer that they voted in May to pull the bricks and everything out, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Why didn't it happen? Nobody.
What I was told was city staff was told not to worry about it. I don't know who said that or what. I wasn't on the city council. I can't speak for any of them. That's just what I was told.
Well, that's what makes you feel like there's something going on behind the scenes.
Exactly, and it's extremely frustrating. Because I think Megan, the city manager, is doing a damn good job. The last budget, she came in within $25.
Yeah.
And usually it's like 20,000 or 10,000, something like that.
Close to that number.
But and this is all public record, the mayor wanted to set up a meeting.
The new mayor or the old mayor?
The new mayor wanted to set up a meeting with the department heads and discuss the budget one-on-one.
Yeah.
Okay. The mayor, it's not her job. The city manager is the chief executive. She handles the budget, all that.
Yeah.
She keeps injecting herself into this thing, and it's like we were talking with Sean. North Carolina mayors are cheerleaders for the city. They have one vote, just like the rest of the council.
Yeah.
And
So they're not like mayors in big cities that set
not
policy.
like New York and Chicago, where they do have a little bit of authority. I think they hire and fire police chiefs and all
Right.
that stuff. Which, quite honestly, that's what you got a lot of corruption too.
But the city manager does that in smaller towns. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's the city manager. The council hires the city manager. The city manager handles everything else, the hiring and firing of department heads, all that, budget, everything. The city council is there to listen to the public, handle issues like that, and to vote on the budget. And I'm sure I'm missing half a dozen other things, but I'll figure it out as I go. But it's just...
I agree. I think that, 100% everybody's equal when it comes to the mayor. Like you said, it's the city council and the mayor, and you've got 4 council members and a mayor, and each one's one vote, and nobody's opinion is any louder or better.
Do you think, to me, if she had just said, hey, because the council can vote and say, okay, let the mayor go talk to the department heads. But she doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And the city manager handled it well. And this is all public knowledge. Public information. The city manager, of course, the council didn't know, but the city manager sends an email to the mayor, and she copies the rest of the council, telling the mayor that it would be inappropriate for her to get a meeting like that without the rest of the council or the rest of the council's permission.
Yeah.
To discuss budget, because the city manager is responsible for the budget and all that.
Well, and I think on the same, I'm in agreement, because I don't agree with it's my understanding that Bobby Chin and Bonnie Whitaker were the 2 council members, which legally are allowed to call the special meeting. Is that correct? Or was it Bobby and Bonnie?
I think it was Ricky and Bonnie.
Was it
they
Ricky
called
and
that,
Bonnie?
That special, the special meeting.
To me, that's I want everybody to be transparent, and we don't need to have a special meeting at 8:00 in the morning on a Tuesday when I'm at work. 90% of Graham is probably at work. I agree with that, be transparent, but like you said, everybody needs to be transparent. I didn't agree with that special meeting. I understand that there were some special circumstances. Yeah, I don't agree with anything before 5 o'clock on a weekday.
I totally understand. I mean, because all the city council, I think most of the rest of them are retired. But I think Ricky works at the Graham Feed or Tractor Supply, something like that. But I still work.
Well,
Shut up.
let's not, exaggerate.
I roast coffee. Come on. So yeah, and I'm already used to it. Okay, well, I've got a meeting this evening, so let's, go do it. And I'm not an early riser, so I don't I don't want to have meetings in the morning. But it's frustrating on all counts. I think, and we have this next meeting should be kind of interesting. Because I think the mayor, and I don't know if you were there when we were all sworn in, and I gave my statement about how I thought the mayoral race was run. Mm-hmm. Only because I felt like somebody had to say something. Because I saw stuff at the polls that was going on, and for a race that's supposed to be nonpartisan, the Democrats made it partisan as all get out.
Yeah,
and there were things, and I don't have a dog in the fight with what's being said about Jennifer Talley or anything like that. But some of the shit that the Democrats came out with, that hometown holler guy, most of it was just pure lies.
Yeah.
And nobody called them on it.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I had to say something. So I made my statement. It was all over and done. After the meeting was done, and I went to the mayor and I told her, I said, I felt like I had to make that statement. Somebody had to. And I said, it's clean slate. I don't have nothing against you. I'm open for whatever.
Yeah.
So it's, just.
Yeah, I know. And when I went to, there was that whole thing from, I don't even know who it was from, whether it was Republicans or just whether it was Jennifer Talley's campaign or whether it was backed by Republicans or whatever. But, the whole thing about, I never saw concrete evidence that Chelsea was actually at these protests. I never saw a picture
like
of somebody that looked exactly like her at the protest.
Yeah.
Of course, I saw a girl in a mask that they said was her, but there was never. And so then when I went to vote at my precinct in Graham, Jennifer Talley comes running up to me and starts, yelling that she supports Black Lives Matter. Don't vote for her. She's, and I saw that she was funded by Democrats. That's public knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with them dipping hands into our local election. And that's my thing. I don't agree with that in one bit at all. And so, but after going to the meeting and the first public hearing on the park and being treated like I was by Jennifer,
mm-hmm.
who, cut me off during my public speaking time and started to inject her own opinion into what I was speaking about during my public speaking time, and saying that the information I had was not correct about the minutes, which it was correct what I was saying. And then, to me that just was off-putting. And then to watch her interject in other people's speaking time was off-putting. And not,
whether you're right or wrong, you should be able to speak without being interrupted. Yeah. And then it should be brought up after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah, we can have a side conversation, or you can have a conversation after the public speaking and address all the points that you
absolutely
wanted to, correct.
But you should be able to speak and say what you want to say, and then if it's incorrect, then they can bring that up afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's just,
because you're just going off the information you have.
Exactly.
And there's nothing, and there's nothing nefarious or, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has information that maybe is not 100% correct, so
I obviously, like I said, and I don't even know. I like to call myself a conservative more than a Republican because, like I mentioned, I'm just a traditionalist.
I was a
value
Republican
person.
forever.
well, you're an independent now, right?
Yeah, about 3 years ago, I went independent. And it was because of Trump. I voted for him, but there's some times where he just gets so stupid and you just want to will you just shut the fuck up? Somebody take the phone away from him and delete his Twitter or Truth, whatever it is, delete that account. And I finally, the only thing I can do is just not be a part of that party anymore.
Yeah.
And so, but I am a conservative. So it's, everybody assumes I'm a Republican, but I'm not.
I think that everything, it's just back to your question that you've asked. I get up there and I speak and I see other people speak, and yes, there are people who aren't from Graham who speak, and there was a guy seemed like he was from Charlotte that came to speak. Whatever as far as that goes. But I think it's just it's odd that Bobby Chin moved to Graham in 2019 or 2017, and Bonnie moved here in 2017 or 2019, and for them to then be pointing fingers about, we don't have a lot of Graham people come to speak. But when I get up there and speak, I'm from Graham. I had relatives who lived here since the 1800s in Graham, and then I get up there to speak, and there are council members who roll their eyes or look disinterested. I don't have respect anymore. At that point, we've lost any kind of connect that there was going to be.
But what you can't do is get disheartened and stop.
Exactly.
I mean, no matter what, you have to keep coming and saying what you think and speaking your mind, because if without that, then the people that are from here lose that. There's no objectivity.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm hoping, once the, whatever happens to the park, we can just move on. And
what I'm interested in seeing is if the park moves, what happens with that land?
Yeah, everybody's interested in that.
That's what I'm interested in, because that will show if, like you said, there's bullshit, if there's stuff going on behind the scenes, whatever happens with that land, that will show if there was really something going on.
And that's like that. Because how do you, short of, and Tom Boney, it's every week he's he's doing public
information,
public records requests for everybody's emails and stuff. And I don't know what he's got, what he's found or anything. But
well, the thing that's interesting to me is that now that you have seen all the information, and now that you're supporting leaving the park there, you don't exist to him anymore.
Yeah, pretty much.
Before you were very much under his microscope, but now, and he mentioned you and talked about, but now it's like you just disappeared.
Well, give me time. I'll be in there for something.
Is there anything that we haven't talked to you about that you want to share? I want to be sure that you have an opportunity to.
No, I'm like I said, I'm just I didn't plan on getting fully involved in.
Are you going to run?
Situation. I don't know. I don't think I've got so much right now. My it's so crazy that.
So when do you finish, and when will you take the bar?
So I finish in May. I graduate. The bar's in July. And so I have to figure all that out.
Do you have a plan for work, or do you have
I work in Burlington right now at Smith Giles. A law firm in Burlington.
What kind of law do they practice?
They do a little bit of everything. Criminal. There's one attorney there that does a lot of federal criminal work. One attorney does more of your district, court stuff here in Alamance County. civil litigation, real estate. I do a lot of wills and estates work there when I'm there. So it's a well-rounded
That's
group
cool.
there. But I don't know. It's just
Do you think you have an opportunity to stay with them if you want?
no, I think that definitely have the the opportunity and they've asked me to come back there.
That's
and work,
cool.
so.
Good for you, man.
You've
That's
got
great.
you've got your plan and all that. It's kind of rare,
Yeah. I have a lot of friends in law school that don't have a plan right now, and that's not a bad thing. I mean,
No,
it's just
time sneaks up on them though.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a little crazy.
So, but yeah, I think the politics. I enjoy just being there and seeing what's going on and being in topics.
I think you ought to run.
Well, I don't know. I got to figure that out.
You can run for mayor 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, I don't know. And I see all these other hotbed county commissioners and even the sheriff got heated this year. Which
is that right?
Which I didn't
Yeah.
expect.
We had
The
we had Billy on.
incumbent one, right?
Yeah, Sheriff Johnson one.
Yeah,
He's we're supposed to have him on. Terry said he was going to come on.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have him on soon.
it's just there's so many different. It's just constantly evolving.
Well, what do you think about the commissioner stuff? Like, we were talking with Sean Ewan about libraries, and Jeff Thronberg brought that up. We had him on, and he brought it up about how many library cards were issued in the past year.
Yeah.
And
Some massive amount.
yeah, I was
Percentage.
talking to when I mentioned it to Sean. I said, if the county commissioners, you would think that they would say, "Oh, okay, do these people vote?" Because a lot of them, that's all they care about.
Well, that's the other thing is I really want what I would love if I had the time would be to get more voter engagement, because I think only I want to say 20,000 people voted in Alamance County.
Yeah.
How many are
I want to say maybe close to 200,000. Is it 200 and some thousand?
really?
Something like that. Yeah.
And so you
Great.
can account for some people, but those are 200,000 18-year-old plus people, so voters. So I really wish more people would, because then you don't have the right to get upset about an issue.
Yeah.
If you didn't vote for it.
Well, no. If you don't vote, I have no time for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you do vote, stop electing the same damn people that are causing the problems.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many problems, yet, a lot of our county positions have stayed the same over and over and over. And that's neither here nor there, but, the ICE contracts was a hotbed topic, and a lot of people had issues with that, and nothing really changed. The county commissioners stayed the same. The sheriff stayed the same. But I saw so many people have opinions on it, but it stayed the same.
Yeah.
So, it's just if I could do one thing, it would be more voter engagement in Alamance County.
Yeah.
And get more people.
That's not a bad thing.
Well, you should seriously think about running for mayor. I'm not joking here. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you could bring an entirely different perspective.
You'd be the youngest mayor. I think the youngest mayor in Grant, probably Alamance County.
Probably. I don't know. I would think so. That was the cigar I brought was Henry Clay.
Yeah.
Warhawk, which I like. It's a good cigar.
You're the first guest that's brought cigars.
That's right. Of all our guests.
Wow.
So you're like up here on our.
We even had the president of Warfighter Tobacco on, and he didn't bring any cigars.
He wanted to give us a whole pack, remember? And I talked him out
you
of
talked
it.
him out of it.
Well, I like that cigar, but I like it. I like Arturo Fuente.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like a cigar, but I like that one because Henry Clay was a politician in the early 1700s, 1800s, and he was the youngest person. At 22, he got elected to the United States House of Representatives, and he's a cool American figure.
Yeah.
He's like this. It was big on, he was a war hawk because he supported the war against Britain, and he's a cool guy, a cool
Right.
American patriot.
Right.
who did a lot of things when he was in Washington D.C. And became a lawyer when he was 21 years old and goes to Washington
I think
at 22.
I actually got 3 of those.
Oh, did you?
I believe I did from JR's.
That's cool.
So it's got some other. He was a big cigar smoker too, but there's several other lines of that. But the Warhawk is good.
I got into it. I was in Las Vegas for a convention one year.
Jim used to be the king of car audio.
Okay.
Your mom and dad might have had a stereo put in.
They probably did. Knowing them, they probably did.
I used to own ear candy. I still do. I still do a little bit of stuff, but I had that for like 35 years. And but we were at a convention in Las Vegas, and we got into the room, and there was a Cigar Aficionado magazine, and I think I have a copy of it. It was, what year is this? 2000. It was this one right here. And it was Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
And I picked it up and I was like, okay, I'm reading it, and Churchill's such a, is an amazing man.
Yeah, we're major Churchill fans.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and they were talking about during the war, he wanted to jump out of the airplanes with the airborne troops, with the British airborne. And so they made him a special mask that had a spot where he could have his cigar while he was dropping.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's pretty damn cool. So then I went and got some cigars and started. So I acquired it because of Churchill. And then I realized I didn't have good taste in cigars until I met Hollywood here. And he's like big time cigar guy.
Yeah, I was not big into it at all. And I went to, I was on vacation and was in the Dominican Republic, and of course,
Oh, no kidding.
Oh yeah.
that's the place. That's
Yeah.
we can't go to we can't get stuff from Cuba, so we get it from the Dominican Republic. So and there was a lot of people selling cigars there and stuff. Good cigars, that were Dominican leaf and not super expensive.
Right.
Break the bank, and so I got a couple. Smoked them, and then I was like, well, I can't get this quality I can't get this quality for this price in the United States.
Yeah.
So then I went to JR and started hanging out with the guy out there and kind of talking about that. And so
If you know what you're looking, if there's a lot of great cigars in the $6 to $9 range, if you know what you're looking for.
yeah, and I love, obviously, like I mentioned, I love reading, so I love Ernest Hemingway, and so that's probably one of my favorite raps is a Hemingway.
Right.
Arturo Fuente.
Arturo Fuente.
They have a good Hemingway that I like.
Yeah,
a lot.
that little.
And it's a short.
Yeah.
It's a short smoke.
Yeah,
so
we've got a
that's
box
good.
of those somewhere here.
So that's kind of how I got into it.
Well, we appreciate you being on the show. Hope
man.
is there anything that we haven't talked about?
No, I appreciate y'all having me. It was a lot of fun.
I think it's cool. You come on anytime you want to.
I appreciate it.
Something you want to bitch about, just holler and we'll have you on.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm Hollywood Hurd,
I'm Jim Young.
and this is the Smoked
Smoked
Debrief. All right. Thanks, bro.